Hi, welcome to Progressive Short Takes. I'm your host, Joe Firestone, and thank you very much for coming. So, not too long ago, I posted a video concerning how it would work to replace Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. And there I said that it would be a good idea for progressives to be voting present, specifically not simply progressives, but the squad. I advocated for the squad committing to hang in there for multiple ballots in order to block Pelosi from getting reelected. And I thought voting present would do the trick. Since I've learned that I was mistaken about that the rules of the House are such, and the House manual is fairly explicit concerning the need for people to vote for a person if they want their votes to count as one of the total votes cast for Speaker. Now, since the re-election of the Speaker requires a majority of the total votes cast, if they were to vote as present, that vote would not be counted as one of the total votes cast, and therefore it would lower the size of the majority of total votes cast that would be necessary for someone to become the Speaker of the House. So that's basically the difference here. Let me show you a chart. Let me share it. I've now corrected this chart. If you saw the earlier video, the middle column is squad votes now for a person, and the fourth column over is squad either absent, which means they're not on the floor, they're home, they're somewhere else, or they could be voting present, in which case their votes would not add to the total. And you can see this, for example, in the first row, there are 214 votes for Nancy Pelosi, 213 votes for the non-Pelosi vote, which in this case are all for Kevin McCarthy. And then the total votes cast are 427, and Pelosi has a majority, 214 to 213. So in that scenario, she wins. Of course, in that scenario, the squad are all either not on the floor or voting present. In the second row, we have a scenario where Pelosi still has the 214, but now the non-Pelosi votes are 213 for Kevin McCarthy and one squad vote for another person. It can be anybody. It doesn't have to be a member of the House. It can be, for example, Cornel West. Could be Noam Chomsky. Could be Jimmy Dore. Okay, then there are 7 votes who are absent, okay, or present. That totals votes cast 400, okay, and 28. And it's a tie at 214 to 200, okay, and 14, or it's 214 to 213, okay, to 1, which means Pelosi doesn't have a majority of the votes cast. Now the Pelosi votes and the non-Pelosi votes are tied at 214 to 214, so she is blocked in that scenario with only 1 vote. Now, if 2 votes were for a person, that would lift the non-Pelosi votes to a majority of 215 to 214, but only 213 of those votes would be for McCarthy. So McCarthy wouldn't be getting a majority of the votes cast either. Neither Pelosi nor McCarthy would be getting a majority of the votes cast, and we'd be looking at a total votes cast of 429. And so on down the chart, until let's go to the row, which gives Pelosi 214 votes, and there are 5 squad votes for a person, which added to the Kevin McCarthy votes of 213, then gives us 218 non-Pelosi votes. So 5 votes for a person will block her even when there are 432 votes cast. And 5 votes would continue to block her even when there were 433 votes cast, 434 votes cast, and 435 votes cast. In the scenario where 435 votes are cast, there would be 3 spare votes available for the blockers. Now, what are the assumptions I'm making for these particular scenarios? This chart, by the way, is entitled Scenario Variations for the Squad Blocking Pelosi. The assumptions are 214 votes locked in for Pelosi, 8 squad votes are up for grabs, 213 McCarthy votes are locked in, 4 person votes other than Pelosi votes, plus the McCarthy votes equals the non-Pelosi votes. Number 5, okay, Pelosi votes plus non-Pelosi votes is equal to votes cast for Speaker. Number 6, winning the speakership requires a majority of the votes cast rather than a majority of the quorum. This is a funny wrinkle. The present votes count towards a quorum, but present votes don't count towards number of votes cast, because votes cast, in this case, for Speaker, have to be for a person. That's what I didn't understand when I did my previous videos. I assumed a vote cast was simply a vote cast, and if a present vote was cast, well, it was cast, and it would contribute then, okay, to total votes cast. But that is not the rule. That was a mistake. So number 7, voting proceeds for as many ballots as it takes to get a majority. In the history of the House, sometimes it's taken 129 ballots to get a majority. It took weeks. But I don't think that's going to happen today, because everything is much more fast-paced today. Social media, okay, is operating. The House would be raked over the coals if there are too many trial ballots. So I think things are going to end after 3 to 5 ballots. that's when I think other people are going to get in the race, okay, against Pelosi. And I think at that point, she's probably going to withdraw from the race and open it up to other people within the Democratic caucus to see if they can try to get majority support. At that time, I'm thinking we will have a situation where it will be possible for the squad, okay, to negotiate concessions from a new candidate. So, let me share the screen again for you. And let's look at this slide. Here are some speaker vote questions and answers. What day is this likely to be held? On January 3rd, 2021. But that is not the guaranteed date as yet. That is the most likely date. Is it public? Yes, it should be on C-SPAN, but that's going to depend on the House. The House has discretion over the date. It has discretion over whether it's going to be on C-SPAN or not. Are 5 votes that are needed to block Pelosi? That depends on various assumptions. Again, you see the previous table. What if another unsatisfactory choice is nominated? What is the plan then? It's the same plan. Rinse and repeat until the right choice is considered. What is the right choice? Someone who will deal with the progressives and who will be more progressive herself than Nancy Pelosi was. But the most important criterion is that they will deal with the progressives. Just a little later, I'll get to what kinds of deals would be made by progressives, by the squad, but also by the larger group, okay, of people in Congress who are truly progressive. That is a greater number than the squad. We don't know how many it is. There are 101 people who are in the progressive caucus. They're not all in the House. 100 are in the House. Bernie Sanders is still a member. He's in the Senate, of course. Out of those 100, there are many of them who have affiliated with the caucus, but who are not but truly progressive. They are neoliberals who joined the caucus, I don't know, just to have a voice in the caucus, maybe to be friendly, maybe to find out what's going on. The rules of the caucus have recently tightened up, and we can expect that some people will be withdrawing from the caucus in this particular Congress. I think the caucus is trying to get down to 40 or 50 members who are really progressive. I'm not sure there are 50, but the point is it's a much larger group than only the 8 who will be with the squad. Are newly elected members allowed to vote? Yes. What if the effort fails? Squad people will be banished to House Siberia. They'll get the lousy committee assignments, and other actions will be taken to punish them. What is the hashtag of our campaign? Hashtag replace Pelosi. You see it up there on the screen I'm sharing. How can we avoid Kevin McCarthy getting elected? Keep Nancy Pelosi at more than 213 votes at all times. Okay, or if the number of people who are abstaining brings the votes cast to a sufficiently low level, always make sure that the votes Nancy Pelosi gets are one more than the votes Kevin McCarthy is likely to get. What's the difference between this proposal and Jimmy Dore's? If we're successful with replace Pelosi, we'll be able to get multiple floor votes on progressive priorities, including a vote for Medicare for all, including what Jimmy is asking for, but votes on the Green New Deal, favorable votes on trade measures, perhaps, on fair trades, votes on housing programs and student debt elimination, better COVID relief. We'll also be able to get changes in procedural rules. For example, change in pay-go rules. For example, changes in how votes get to the floor, so everything is not always controlled by the speakers. For example, rules that say that if a particular measure gets more than a certain number of votes in the caucus, I don't know, say 10 votes or 15 votes, but pick a number that seems a likely number, that such bills will get a floor vote. This would create many, many more floor votes, in Congress, and we could see where people actually stood. So it would start with the co-sponsor numbers. If they are more than a few, if this has serious support in Congress, it would be entitled to a floor vote. We'd also be looking for changes in the pay-go rules, which shackle progressive legislation. We'd be looking for better committee assignments, as well as a speaker who doesn't simply dismiss progressives out of hand or punish them in various ways and give more favorable treatment to the problem solvers caucus, or various other right-wing people. We're trying to shift the Overton window in the House over to the left. That means we need to get rid of the neoliberal Nancy Pelosi and her neoliberal team, with the possible exception of Catherine Clark, who perhaps would be someone who would deal with the progressives. She is a Medicare for All co-sponsor. She's a Green New Deal co-sponsor. So that's all for this progressive short take. I hope you liked it. I'll be back with another progressive short take soon.